Okay, so we're being told we're live.
I think we're live.
We're live. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Jonathan,
Hi, I'm Phil. Good to see you.
and this is a Wellness Wednesday,
Yeah,
and so this is our first one of 2023.
that's right. That's right.
Okay, so for anybody who has done a cooking class before with the district, this is my first one, and I understand Phil,
My first one too.
his first one as well. And so we heard that in the past people have cooked along, and so for those of you who are prepared with your ingredients, you're certainly welcome to cook along. We kind of put this together and designed it so that we could be, going along and hopefully finish within about a half an hour or so, give or take. And so for those of you who are just taking notes, thank you so much, and thank you for being understanding, as it's our first time.
Yeah,
we're just getting started.
but it's great to be here tonight with Jonathan. He has shared his experiences with me. I'm really excited. My experience with food has been kind of more in the deli area. But it's great to be around great ingredients and great people. And thank you, Julie St. Cyr, for sharing your kitchen with us tonight. We really appreciate that.
Yes,
We are very, very excited to share some good food, some good wine, and some tips on cooking. And we hope you have a great time tonight.
and I hope everybody gets to know Phil a little better, because this is Italian food and Phil is Italian.
Yeah.
And so the recipes that we're going to do tonight, I know that a lot of the ingredients were sent out. The ingredient list were sent out. So we're making what is called a cacciatore or hunter's style stew. We're also going to be making something called a tricolor salad, and that comes from the 3 colors of lettuce that are going to be enjoyed with the salad. And it's a very simple, very healthful, delicious salad to enjoy with just about any meal. We're going to be making something called escargot butter, which I know by definition is a little dubious, but I think by the time that we're done making it, you'll say, oh, okay, this is why.
Yeah.
And then something that's very difficult to pronounce called torta sprisolona, which is a very simple, very basic, delicious communal cookie.
Hey, Jonathan, do you know how you detain a conservative British member of parliament? You feed him cacciatore. What do you think of that?
The Tory party.
The Tory party. Exactly. There you go.
Okay.
We just also had a little political lesson on the British government. So
Yes.
Excellent. There you go.
This is a school district out there.
There we go.
Yes. Okay. So I'll tell you what, let's gather our ingredients for the chicken cacciatore. Phil, we both have our list
Yep.
right here. So garlic, we have garlic right here. So when possible, use fresh garlic, and not the stuff that comes in a tube, although that's acceptable. But ideally, what you want to do is buy a head of garlic, and then you want to take the paper off of that, and and then we'll mince our garlic. And then we also have rosemary right here, which is a very nice, a lot of this in California have this growing in our
All over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place. In fact, I have a couple bushes in my backyard too, and it grows. You don't even need to water it, really.
No,
Right?
it's a perfect Mediterranean herb.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so that's very nice. So we have this, and then we have salt and freshly ground black pepper. If you can, try and grind your pepper yourself. It makes a big difference. It's something that will give you a lot more flavor in the long run. And then we have olive oil, we have chicken. I'll get to the chicken in a bit. And we have yellow onions or Spanish onions. They're the same thing. You can use a white onion for this too.
Yeah. Jonathan, on the olive oil, do you recommend a particular brand?
I recommend, well, first of all, I'd recommend a size. So only buy what you are going to use within 3 to 6 months.
Got it. So don't buy the big Costco version.
Well, I make a lot of sauce at home,
so
I could,
that is your size.
yeah, that
Okay.
is my size for
Alright.
sure.
Excellent.
And make sure it comes in a dark bottle, ideally, because it's light sensitive and it could go rancid if it's exposed to too much
Now,
light.
there's a lot of talk about extra virgin olive oil and it not coming from Italy or from Spain and coming from other places around the Mediterranean, even North Africa and Eastern Mediterranean. Like, how do you have any tips on how you make sure you're getting good quality EVOO?
Well, in that way, some of the best wines I've ever had are blended, and some of the best
That's
oils I've ever had are blended. But what I would say is that there's a different olive oil profile for just about everything.
Mhm.
Some of them are spicy, some of them are grassy.
Mhm.
And taste them and find out what you like. And the really nice ones, you don't even want to use with heat because you can enjoy them on their own, like with a salad. Like we're going to be using something that's economically very good, but taste wise, it's not going to be as wonderful or diverse as something that you pay a lot more for. And on a salad where there's no heat applied, that's where it's really going to come and shine through. Cooking and applying heat to extra virgin olive oil almost diminishes all of its good properties.
And even good with a piece of bread,
Mhm.
or a piece of bread and a little vinegar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and blends are totally fine. Some are Spanish and French and Italian. You just have to go to a place that sells a lot of olive oil. Then that's another thing. Turnover is a really good thing. Knowing that you're getting a fresh product is really good.
Cool.
So that's about olive oil for sure. And then, tomato sauce. So let me grab our tomato sauce for this. So Phil, you're a family guy.
Yeah,
You have a bunch of tomato sauce that your family makes.
we do.
You do. And
I have a
you
recipe.
stock it in the freezer.
We do.
Okay, so same thing here, and I recommend you can definitely do that yourself. If you choose to not make your own tomato sauce, I would say, at least for this recipe, what you want to do is to buy a tomato sauce of good quality that you enjoy, that probably has some texture to it. And I think that would be a nice substitute for homemade here.
Yeah. So we on a Sunday, Jonathan, we'll make a big pot of tomato sauce. We use Cento. We use the Cento tomatoes. That's the one that has always been used in our family. And then we'll put it in Tupperware and freeze it, and then pull it out as needed. Sometimes I visit my uncle in Temecula, and he, my godfather, who I'll talk about a little bit later, but he does the same thing. So whenever I go down to Uncle Paolo's, he's got a small Tupperware out already on the counter because we're going to have some kind of pasta as a first course in our meals. So making homemade tomato sauce is just a really great fun treat.
I suggest anybody who doesn't do it, give it a try sometime. But you have to have a big pot, because if you're going to do it and make it last for at least a month.
And very economical too.
Oh, absolutely. And Cento, as he was talking about, is a brand of whole tomato. Well, they make other things too.
They do all kinds of stuff, yeah.
But it's a really good brand. And if you haven't been to Cortina's Italian Market in Anaheim on Brookhurst and Orange, it's killer.
We're not getting a plug for that.
My favorite.
Yeah, it's a great place, but we're not, there's no sponsorships. Well, as of yet. If this thing takes off, then, we could have, HGTV or Food Network might be calling. So
yeah, you never know about
we'll
HGTV.
see. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so let's dive into the recipe. So what we want to do is marinate our chicken. And so we want to get all of our chicken in a large bowl, and I have it right over here. Now, I apologize, it's not very attractive. Looking at raw meat isn't very attractive, but what we want to do here, the recipe calls for a whole chicken cut up into 8 pieces. So what does that really mean? So for people, sure. So for people that know how to butcher a chicken, it's a very economical way to feed a whole family, because you end up with 4 pieces of chicken breast, and then you end up with a thigh and a drumstick times 2, and then and the wing ends up on one of the breast pieces, which is great. And so it's a great way. If you could buy chicken on sale, maybe a whole chicken is $6. That's a great economical way to feed your family. So for the purpose of you at home, if you're not butchering your own chicken, buying bone-in, skin-on chicken breasts and thighs is a very good way to go about doing this. At home, I'm not allowed to have only dark meat, but if I were by myself, this would be all dark meat, because it braised well, and this is a braise.
And it's got great flavor too.
It does, which is why even if you don't serve this on the bone or with the skin, I would advocate that you cook it with the bone and with the skin, because it's going to enhance the overall flavor of your cacciatore. Okay, we're on the same page, guys. This is really good. Okay, so now about marinating our chicken. This is 2 thighs and 2 breasts. I'm going to get our stove on here because we're going to start to sear this in a minute. What you want to do is combine garlic, rosemary, and salt and pepper to taste, and add enough olive oil to make a somewhat dry paste, and add that to the chicken and rub evenly over the chicken pieces, and then marinate. So what does that mean? Let me get a cutting board here that we can get dirty. So strip the leaves off of your rosemary.
I can take care of that for you.
Oh,
Let me put
okay.
this back here.
All right, and I think just for the case of it, we'll use two.
And when I strip, Jonathan, I'm sorry, the
No,
rosemary, okay?
yes.
I just typically just, is that
So
sufficient?
dragging from the top
Mhm.
and pulling against the grain and ending up with your needles.
There we go, right?
That's perfect.
And it just leaves the,
Yeah,
there you
and you
go.
know what? This makes a great skewer where you can throw it in the fire and it makes really good
That's right.
perfume. You could actually throw this into your stew if you wanted to,
There
but
you
you don't need to.
So
So,
how much of that do you need?
well, about one of these.
Okay,
So this is a little generous, but I like a lot of
I like those
flavor, so I
right.
think we're good here. And then we want some garlic. So I've already minced up this garlic, but it calls for 2 cloves of garlic. How many would you put in?
4.
Okay, so if you know what
What-
your family likes, that's what you do.
I doubled that.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna put in the equivalent of about 4 cloves of garlic right there. And then it calls for salt and pepper. So you take your pepper and you grind it right on top. You can always add more. And then you add some salt. And again, this is for the marinade. You can always taste to season later. And I can't remember if it calls for hot pepper flakes.
I think it does, right?
Yeah, why not?
Just throw a little pinch
Yeah,
of
it can't
right?
hurt.
Mhm.
So if you feel like it, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Right.
Now, here's the cool thing. So we've put this big mess on the board and you start cutting. And after a minute or two, we can start dragging. I don't know if it's easy for you guys to hear or to see, but let me actually bring it
Sure.
around and it's our first time doing this. So anyway, so we have this right here. And so if you start to drag your knife, the salt acts as an abrasive and it's going to break down your garlic and it's going to break down your rosemary and it'll make a nice marinade. Would you do that for just a second or two?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna get our dessert out of the oven.
And Jonathan, you want to basically turn it into kind of a fine paste, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be too fine for the sake of our demo, but yeah, why not?
There you go.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
So you have a nice paste going on here, and this is what's going to go right on top of the chicken. And that's going to marinate for 2 hours. We're going to,
And so no need to prep the chicken, skin on, bone on,
it's all there.
it's all there.
Yes. Now this is, so just rub it in a little bit. So what happens in the course of 2 hours is that the salt through osmosis, and it does work that quickly, will bring flavor from the outside of the chicken all the way to the inside. And then also the garlic. Oh, I forgot the olive oil. Would you
Sure.
put a couple
A little
gloves,
drizzle.
gloves of olive oil in there? Perfect. There. Now the olive oil, what it's going to do is it's going to take the garlic flavor and anything else, the chili flavor, and it's going to spread it all around as well. So you have a nice marinade.
Let me have them, let me
Chicken.
show them what that looks like. Take a look at this. Isn't that beautiful? 2 hours marinade to let those flavors really sink in.
Thank you, Phil.
Absolutely.
All right, so now what to do. So this is where you grab either your Instant Pot or your Dutch oven. We're showing you guys a Dutch oven today, but you could do this in an Instant Pot with some maneuvering.
When does a glass of wine come into the conversation?
Now.
All right.
Normally in your home, this would be a terrific time because you are going to use wine as part of the braising base. And what you never want to do is cook with a wine you wouldn't want to drink.
Right, so you might as well try it out first, right?
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
cue Phil. This is a great story, guys.
Oh, yeah, so some of you know that my family comes from Italy and my godfather, my uncle's cousin. Worked on a winery in the Tuscany region of Italy. And I brought 2 bottles of wine that to share with you. And one of them is called Nipozzano. And they're both made by the Frescobaldi winery. Frescobaldi's been around since the 1300s. And their wine has been served in the papal court as well as the court of Henry VIII. This first one that I want to show you, I'll have Julie close up there. That's a Chianti, Chianti Rufina, and it retails at Bevmo for about $20. In a restaurant, it's typically 3 times the markup, so this would be a $60 bottle of wine in a restaurant. A really great Chianti table wine, and then this one, the Tenuta Frescobaldi, is made with the Sangiovese grapes, and Sangiovese is a region in northeastern Tuscany, just northeast of Florence, and this one is about a $30 bottle of wine, and that one I would only use on a special occasion. You know, using wine to cook is something that is really regular in my family, so we kind of stock up on these things, and just a great table wine and a great special wine for a nice occasion. So again, you can find these at Bevmo, and they're really tasty if you like a nice full-bodied red wine.
And in this recipe, you can use white wine or you can use red wine. It calls for white, but if you have red, I don't see why you wouldn't want to use red. And I think it would actually make a very rich.
My family's
sauce.
cacciatore is always with red wine. Then again, most things my family does is with red wine, so that probably settles that, right?
And I will say that something like a full-bodied Chianti would be a very appropriate wine for something like this. As like you wouldn't want to use like a Beaujolais or something like that, which is younger. And why? The richer the wine, the richer the sauce.
There
So
we go.
it's always good to remember. Okay, so now
So what do you have there, Jonathan?
well, this is for our next recipe. I was trying to get ahead of the curve,
got it.
but for the purpose of our cacciatore, what we want to do is put our Dutch oven overheat. And to talk about Dutch ovens for a minute, this is a 5.5 quart. You can get these in many different sizes, many different qualities. If you have the money, go
And
for
that looks like a Le Creuset.
it's a Le Creuset, and then it's a great brand. They're easier to clean, I would
Yeah.
say, than the other ones, but you could even use an unglazed cast iron pot for this. And it's really a stovetop preparation for the most part. You could cook this in the oven very easily, and if you wanted to set it and forget it, so to speak, that's a great thing to do.
Could you put this on low heat in the morning before you leave for work and come home to it?
If you're using the thighs.
If you're using the thighs. Got it.
Yeah, you can't use the white meat and do it all day, guys.
Right.
It just won't work out.
Right, it'll be too dry. Yeah, got it.
You know that. though.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
All right, so with our pot on the heat like that, I'm gonna go ahead and throw these guys in and wash my hands. Do you wanna get mixing some butter? Jen?
Sure.
Also, so we're gonna move into escargot butter while we're browning our chicken. And so for the escargot butter, we can use one of those bowls over there and the rubber spatula that is to the side. And I'll be right back to, oh, and I forgot, the recipe for the basic tomato sauce that we're using tonight is attached to the cacciatore recipe, which you have, and it's a very good one. And sometimes I put a lot of extra carrots in there, so it's a little bit sweeter, but that's not an Italian thing to do, just a warning.
And this is for the butter right here, these ingredients right here, right? Jonathan?
Yeah, I need to add a little bit more time to this,
Okay,
but
I can do that.
we're getting started.
So it looks like for the escargot butter, we've got some special butter here. This is French butter that you can find at a specialty grocery store like Bristol Farms or Whole Foods would have it. Jonathan and I were talking about the cheese shop
in Beverly Hills.
in Beverly Hills that has an amazing selection of cheeses and butters if you're ever up there. And you know, these are things that, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but you only live once, and it's really nice to have a really good meal with really good ingredients. So the butter, the coarse salt, the freshly cracked pepper, 6 cloves of garlic that are finely minced, 3/4 of a cup of parsley, which we have right here. We have the fresh basil that will be chopped. I'll do that in just a second. And fresh lemon juice. And it looks like we've got Meyer lemons here.
We do, and they're gonna add a lot of nice flavor. So the zest of the lemon, or is it lemon juice, or is it both? I can't even remember.
It says lemon juice.
Oh,
Lemon
okay.
juice.
It's been so long since I made this.
Yep.
So, okay, so I'll run a little interference here.
Yeah.
Okay, so European butter has a higher fat content. You can make this with regular store-bought butter and it's not a problem. When, again, just like we were talking about with olive oil, when you're gonna taste something directly, it kind of makes a difference. This is where you want to spend a few extra dollars on the butter. Do you have to? No. Are you gonna be glad you did? Probably. And so there's that. And so why is this called escargot butter? Well, it's called escargot butter because if you were to make escargot, this is the butter that you would use, but there's no snails in it. And it's good to know that the best thing about eating escargot is that you dip your bread in this melted butter. And this makes a great, just all-purpose compound butter to put on top of bread, so you can make garlic bread for your family, but it's also great just to melt the way that it is and to dip warm bread into. And then it's truly like eating escargot, only you don't have to disappoint your guests by serving them snails, which many people don't like. And so that's why we call this escargot.
Although if you have never tried escargot, if you've never tried snails,
You should.
a bucket list, right?
Yeah.
Definitely should try it.
There's a reason that they're so famous and they're delicious. They are great.
Right. So I'm chopping up the fresh thyme and the basil. And I've got that all set up. I've got the garlic right here. I'm gonna put that in. And the minced chives. So we've got chives right here.
And there's some scissors if you'd like to make
Okay.
your life easy. You're definitely welcome to do that if you like.
Or we could just,
And while Phil's getting into chive time, I'm gonna bring our pot over. And I don't know if it's possible, but that is the type of brown that you want to see on your chicken. This is top piece right here. It's very golden. And what that means is that it's gonna really enhance your flavors a bit, quite a bit. So after your chicken has browned thoroughly, we're going to remove that to a plate. Is everything good?
We do have one question.
Oh, great,
yeah.
What is the temperature on the stove of the Dutch oven?
oh,
Well, Dutch ovens, the pot itself can go up to about 475 degrees. However, I have the heat on like a medium high. Every stove and the BTUs that a stove puts out are going to be different, but you want enough heat to get a good sear, but not too much heat that you start to blacken or darken too much on the bottom of the pan, because then you get a bitter taste. But you want to develop that golden color because it means a lot of flavor.
so I've got the escargot butter almost ready to go here. Some salt and some pepper. And then the Meyer lemons, which are amazing lemons. And I'm gonna go ahead and
And
put
you
the
know what, I
lemon
have
juice
some
in.
juice if you want to, that's already.
You've got it all ready to
I
go.
do have some just plain old juice
Oh,
right there
perfect.
for you if you like.
So now, Jonathan, when you cut your lemons and try to get the lemon juice in, do you have a technique or do you use a
I do,
grater?
yes, I'll show you, and just move this off the heat for a second. My buddy Jonathan Davis taught me this, and it's kind of wasteful, but in a certain setting, it's okay. So he called it cutting the cheek off of
Okay.
the lemon, and now, you only do this when you are trying to be very fast, and so there's a way just to have no seeds when you cut this portion.
Hmm.
I don't know if anybody can see that, you just cut that portion
So
off.
really, there's 4 cheeks
Yes.
to a lemon.
Yes, and this is nice to put in a drink because then you don't have the pit in your drink or what have you, but it's very wasteful.
Yeah.
And so that, in that way, it's not good.
And then I typically throw these into the garbage disposal and keep a fresh scent there, you know. So I'm gonna use 4 cheeks here.
And then while Phil is doing that, I'm gonna bring the pot over. And we're gonna talk about the braising base ingredients that we're gonna add to our pot now that we've browned our chicken. So you can see, we'll bring it over. This is kind of an unmanned pot, so it's a little darker than I would like, but there's a nice fond. This is called a fond, and that's in the bottom of your pan. This is a good thing, not a bad thing. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna add our additional ingredients to the bottom of our
I'm gonna grab a fork here.
pot. Okay. So we've added a little bit of olive oil to the pan now that we've browned the chicken. And let's see here. Oh, we're gonna add onions, and we have 2 onions that I diced up.
And what I'm doing right now is, the butter's a little hard, so I grab the fork. And I'm taking the fork and kind of pushing it against the sides of the bowl to incorporate all of the ingredients of the escargot butter.
And this is a good thing. It's gonna really force those flavors together. So actually, the more brutal you can get with it, the better
There you
the
go.
flavors.
There you go.
I'm adding some portobello mushrooms. These are miniature, just little button type portobello mushrooms. I'm also adding some white button mushrooms. Any mushrooms that you can get, the better the variety you choose, the better the flavor is going to be. So whatever you happen to have, we'll explain the name of this stew, which means a whole lot in a minute. And then let's see. So where am I? Let's see. Oh, now one ingredient that we didn't email out is pancetta or bacon. And you want a couple strips of that cut up.
Now, pancetta, you can find at Vaughn's or Ralph's or places like that. It comes thin slices, but I would recommend going to a place that has a whole loaf of pancetta and getting maybe like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch and dicing it yourself, right?
Yeah, it's all about, when you go to a deli and they slice things fresh, meats, cheeses, the flavor and the texture is completely different from anything that's been processed at the plant or wherever it is that things come from. And so the same with pancetta, you're going to get a lot more flavor and goodness out of it if you do it yourself. And yeah, I would say, 3/16 1/4 inch is
Okay.
fine dice for that. And so we're going to return our onions and our mushrooms and our pancetta to the stove and let that brown a little bit.
And now our escargot butter is also ready, as you can see right there. And you could just sneak a little slice of bread. So a slice of
You're gonna have
bread,
to rip it off.
you'd have to rip it off and then a little slice of bread with your glass of wine. All right, Jonathan, what do we do next?
Let's make some salad dressing.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so and with your escargot butter, what you can do is serve it right away. It's gonna be wonderful and fragrant, and you can melt it, you can spread it on bread, and whatever you don't eat, well, you can put it in a tub and you can freeze this. Butter freezes very well too, and the flavor just gets better as things have a chance to melt. And we'll show you how to use that in a second.
Now, when I clean my cutting board, obviously, you don't want to put protein on your cutting board. I typically take my cutting board right next to the trash can here and just slide it right off. And into the trash. And now we're set for our salad dressing.
That's actually a really good tip. I try to visualize my recipe so that I'm doing all my vegetable prep first, and then I do my protein prep so that I'm not having to
Right.
cross contaminate, because that's super bad. Does anybody ask Mina in the?
Right, Mina can give us a lesson on, we should bring Mina on
I
to
know, it would have been smart.
the Phil show next time.
If anybody hasn't met Mina, she's
Great.
she's wonderful, super nice, and she runs all of the food service for the district, and I think she's terrific and a wealth of knowledge.
Yep.
Additionally, you can use plastic cutting boards like this, which can be sanitized in the dishwasher if you're concerned about wooden surfaces. But let's go ahead and grab that large glass bowl, because it's time to make salad dressing. And this is actually before that, so no, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what type of lettuce goes in our salad? We have 3 different types. And this is our green, this is our white, and this is our red. So you have arugula, also known as rocket, you have frisee, and then you have radicchio. And there's lots of different radicchios out there. These 2 are actually in the same family. They are what are called bitter greens. And in Italy, bitter is something that is celebrated. Here in the States, it's kind of,
It's a great flavor, yeah.
Um,
And green, white, and red, those are the 3 colors of the Italian flag.
Exactly.
The tricolore.
yes.
Yeah.
So Roberta in the district office said, I don't know if I've ever bought anchovies before. It's a little mysterious. So that made me think maybe some other folks haven't bought anchovies before. So there's a couple different ways to do this. And it all depends on your level of comfortability with anchovies or really any canned fish for that matter.
Right.
So there's anchovy paste out there, and that's a great simple thing that you can buy, and it's not horrible at all. Sure, go for it.
No, we're good.
Okay. And that's great. So anchovies normally come in jars or tins. This is the inexpensive tin type that you would get at Trader Joe's perhaps, and a flat of these costs, perhaps $2 or so. And when you're all done, I'll just take the lid off. They're covered in oil. Probably not the best quality oil, so I don't think this is an oil we're saving.
Mhm.
But they come in these little fillets or flats. Just like that. I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but
I can show them what that looks like there.
yeah. And so what's nice about these is that they're really high in umami. And if you haven't heard of umami, it's spelled UMAMI, I think.
UMAMI?
I think so,
Yeah,
yes.
that's it.
And it's what they say is the unifying force that brings all the flavors into harmony, and or the savory flavor profile. And mushrooms are high in it, and tomatoes, and so happen to be anchovies, and oddly enough, fish sauce, which just like anchovies, you put fish sauce into something and the flavor melts away. You'd never know that it were there, but you'd know if it weren't there. Much the same with anchovies. So don't be too afraid of them. I know they have a bad rap, but they're the main ingredient in Caesar salads, and this is an Italian
Exactly.
Caesar salad.
I would never put it on my pizza.
I'm not a
although-
big fan on pizza
Yeah.
either.
But it is a absolutely crucial ingredient, I think, in salads and in other recipes.
All
How many of these do you want, Jonathan?
Well, I actually, just for the sake of things, I cut them up
Got
already
it. You've
before.
already
So
cut them.
this is a whole tin right here cut up, because we're trying to make things as quick as possible. And I know that's impossible sometimes, but where's my recipes?
Here you
Use
go.
This one.
There you go.
Okay, so tricolor ensalada, salad.
Ensalada tricolor.
Tricolor, three-colored salad.
Panciola.
It sounds real fancy. It's
With
really
beans.
just a lot of greens.
There we go.
Okay, so let's do what we're making our vinaigrette out of, and how much of it. So anchovies, vinegar, lemon juice. So this is 9 anchovies, essentially a whole tin, and I'm gonna put that in the bottom of the container, okay? And I know we need garlic cloves, right?
Yep. And do you want those chopped up or?
You know, actually,
Oh,
if
we'll
you
paste
hand
it.
me that microplane right there on the quick
Okay,
workout of
there
this.
you go.
So microplane rasp grater is a great way to finely mince garlic. Although remember, you're gonna lose some of it to the tool itself. So if it calls for 4 cloves, maybe add 5, because again, you're gonna end up with some of it here.
Or 6.
Or 6. Now, this is the case where you, again, have to know what your family wants, because raw garlic has a different flavor profile than
Absolutely.
cooked garlic. It's a little more sharp and all that good
Pungent.
stuff. Yeah, that's a great word
Pungent,
for
as they
it.
said.
So how many, we want 2 garlic cloves. How many do you want, Phil?
We'll do 4.
Okay. So that is 3. And this makes. Okay, we'll add a little bit, just, it's kind of like if you're making eggs for your family, you always give one to the pan. So, okay, so there's our garlic and anchovies.
Quarter cup of the vinegar,
Okay, and how much olive oil?
half a cup of the olive oil.
Now, this is interesting. So I like a more vinegar forward dressing.
As opposed, so that the olive oil complements the vinegar versus the other way around.
Yes.
Got it.
And because this is Meyer lemon juice that we're using, it's gonna be a little bit sweeter than Eureka lemon juice, which is what most of us are gonna buy at the store. So I'm gonna give a fair quarter.
Fair
cup.
shake. There you go.
What do you think?
Looking good. Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
this is the best type of cooking because you don't have to dirty up all these other
Right,
things.
there you go.
All right, and this calls for a half a cup. I'm gonna put a quarter cup just to match for right now, knowing that we're gonna taste this and adjust it. All right, and how much lemon juice are we looking for?
We're looking for 2 tablespoons.
That's
That
it?
seems very shallow.
Okay, so I'm gonna go 1, 2.5,
There you go.
and I'll, just for good measure, are we putting any salt or pepper in
We
here?
are, we're gonna put a teaspoon of kosher salt and half a teaspoon of the pepper. I like a peppery vinaigrette.
I love pepper. It adds a
Pepper's
lot of,
great.
yeah,
You gotta love the pepper.
yeah, absolutely. And this is where I think, I think your basic Telecherry peppercorns pack the most punch. Sometimes the multicolored ones don't do it for me, but anything's gonna be better than pre-ground, no matter what. Okay,
And do we give this a whiskadoodle?
yep,
Okay,
whisk a doodle do. And Phil, it's 6:35.
all right,
Okay,
we're doing great.
yes, okay.
So, I have 3 sizes of whisks, not whiskers. Whisks. they're
This
whisks.
is, yes, so there's a balloon whisk or whip, as you can call it. There's a traditional one, which is this size right here, and then also, there's smaller ones too.
Now, if
They
you
all
take
have
a-
different uses.
Right. If you take a look at this, you can't even see the anchovies anymore. The anchovies have essentially just melted into. Because the acid of
It breaks
the
it up.
acid of the lemon and the vinegar will break down the protein of the anchovy, right? There you go.
All right, and so that's pretty much our vinaigrette. We're gonna taste it for sure. You can leave that in there because we'll put some Parmesan
Okay.
cheese or we'll do something to it. So, so I know that it's getting later already. So this is the inside of our pot right now.
It smells
And
delicious.
so Phil, would you get ready our tomato sauce and some wine because we're gonna make and finish our braising base.
Got it.
So we have our mushrooms and you'll notice that I left them whole. I really think texture is so important. And by the time these cook, having a nice big giant mushroom is going to be nice on the plate. So, okay, so we're going to add some wine.
How much do we add?
I want to say it's a half a cup, but I don't think that's enough.
No.
I have to go with what you know, for sure.
I've
One
got-
cup, it calls for 1 cup.
This is about 3 glasses here.
Put in what you think is best.
I'm doing the whole shebang.
Okay, that's okay. Now, this is called cacciatore and hunter style. So what is it? It's a hunter and gatherer stew. So you use what you have on hand. And that's what I love about this. We're also gonna add 2 cups of tomato
Yeah, if
sauce.
we had smell-o-vision, it would be amazing right now.
Okay, so this is essentially your braising base. We're gonna add a little bit of chicken stock to that.
Oh, there it is. Get it for you. Now, you can get, this is organic.
It's organic, but you can also make it yourself out of all the bones you're gonna get when you butcher your
There
own
you go.
birds.
And you can get low sodium,
Yes, that's good.
low sodium.
Mhm.
Also, if that's an issue for you, if you
That's
have
the,
high blood pressure
that's
like
the
that.
healthful part of this.
Yeah. How much of this do we put in?
About a cup,
Okay,
I think.
there you go. That's about it.
Yeah, 1 cup. So the same amount of wine, or you could just, you just put extra wine in no stock,
There you
that's
go.
fine too. But we want to follow the recipe, of course. So we're gonna reintroduce our chicken to this. And nestle it below the wine line.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna return this to the stove.
And I'll show them what it looks like here. So
Thank
you can
you.
see, if you look closely. You'll see on the chicken. On the chicken, you'll see the rosemary and garlic rub that was put on the chicken. You've got the mushrooms there. There's the wine that's been incorporated with the chicken stock. And now this is ready to go back onto the stove.
And at this point.
And I would suggest another glass of wine at this point.
Yes.
Right?
100.
Another glass of
You
wine.
definitely can, but you don't have to. You can definitely abstain. There's nothing wrong with.
Sure, or an iced tea,
Yes.
right? Or a beverage of your choice.
Iced tea with a wedge of lemon is
There
delicious.
you go.
All right, so again, that is hunter style stew, and we'll show you the finished product as soon as we're done. But you let that cook. Now, the chicken's gonna cook at different rates. The white meat is gonna cook pretty fast comparatively. It is gonna take a little longer than if it weren't on the bone because it is on the bone. And then you can cook the heck out of chicken thighs. So probably even like 2 hours. They're gonna get pretty soft at that point, but yeah, you could even put it on a low in a crock pot or something like that, like all day. What you're gonna encounter is a little extra liquid that you can cook off, and we'll show you that when we show you the finished product. So we've got our escargot butter, we've got our chicken, and then I think we're just finishing our salad and on to dessert, right?
Correct.
Okay, so to finish our salad, I think we have our vinaigrette together. We just, oh yeah, set it aside. Okay, we've set it aside. And here's what I would do if I were entertaining and I knew that I had chicken coming off the stove and I had a cookie in the oven and I had this or that going on. Here's what you can do. Now, you can remove this to a different container. That's fine. Or if it's going to be in the next 15 minutes or so, you can add all of your ingredients, hearty and thick pieces
How would you like to
first.
do that?
Well, what you want to do with radicchio is to remove the core because that's pretty inedible. And so you see that there's kind of like a pyramidal or
It's almost like a cabbage.
yeah,
It's almost like a red cabbage.
yeah. And so you take you remove the core and then you can Phil, if you'd like to, you can just kind of like finely slice that and then put the leaves right in there.
So I'm left-handed, so I gotta flip it around.
Oh,
here.
heck, okay.
Not a problem. Those prep days at Catella Deli are really paying off right now. And then when I get to, for me, when I get to about 2/3 of the way through, I flip it over.
Very smart.
Making sure that my thumb is behind my other fingers.
Knife skills are super important and
Yeah.
repetition is the best thing you can do to get them. And good knife.
So we throw that in. And should I throw in some of the white and the green
Yes,
too?
I would throw them all in.
Let's throw it all in. So a nice. Here we go, healthy bunch there and a healthy bunch of the arugula.
And if you can't find frisee, it's not always easy to find. A friend of mine, coworker of mine, their husband said, oh, I don't like frisee. It tastes like spiders in my food. But it is a more firm leaf, but you can always buy and use this. This is pretty readily available. These are these little endive, and they're very easy. And just like the radicchio, you need to be careful to not eat the core. So you kind of chop around the core, and you can have
Nice.
additional white in there.
Toss that as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll add some Parmesan cheese to that as soon as we're ready to serve it. And okay, so last we're gonna make our cookie, and this is about as easy as it gets. Let me just clean our cutting board.
There's your salad. Isn't that beautiful?
Well, and we're gonna put Parmesan cheese on it too. Actually, we can just talk about it because nobody's gonna watch, but would you, while I'm preparing the ingredients for the cookie, can you talk about what this is and why it's important?
So Parmigiano Reggiano is a region in Italy where this cheese comes from. This particular one that Jonathan has for us looks like it's aged over 18 months and imported. I definitely recommend looking for Parmigiano Reggiano that is imported from Italy. You can get Parmesan cheese flavored from cheesemakers here in the Midwest as well, but this is definitely the type of cheese that you want on top of this. It adds a nice bite to your salad. It gives it an additional texture and context to the flavor. So go ahead and open this up and we'll grate some on top. Did we use the cheese grater for this, or do we have a?
We can, however, I also brought this guy here. So
Oh,
this-
lovely, yes.
this is a nice tool. It's called a stirrup peeler. And yeah, show them what's all about.
Yeah, so you get some really nice slices on here, very thin, but nonetheless presents really well. And so we're gonna do that. And I'm a huge Parmesan fan. There you go. And do you toss this again, Jonathan, or do you just leave it on?
I would toss a little bit, and then at the
Okay.
table, I would probably have
Do
some.
just a couple more slices,
at the
right?
table. And I think it's really quite good.
Give this a quick toss.
And taste also, so Phil likes a lot of pepper with his salad. So
Oh, yeah,
this is
for
where, lay it on.
There you go. Lovely. And I'll just do a couple of
Yeah.
final
And,
slices for,
and this is the Nancy Silverton recipe. Nancy says use the best ingredient or the best tools in your kitchen. And those were the ones that you were born with. and you can toss.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah,
I would have done this with my hand.
absolutely, 110%.
Yeah. There you go. There's your finished salad.
And so on to our final recipe, and then we'll show you the
Right here.
over there, yes, all that stuff. So we're gonna show you the tortas risolona, which I love this story because this is it's from this town in Italy that's a real town, and I think that Romeo was banished there in that famous play. So what,
Small chunk of Parmesan also doesn't hurt.
and you know it's the real deal
Mm.
because there's gonna be protein crystals that kind of pop, pop, pop. And it's just a nice thing. So the base of this, and you have your ingredients here, is going to be almonds. And I don't know if it's possible, Phil, for you to show them, but these are the type of almonds that you can just buy slivered almonds at the grocery store. They're blanched and they're without their skin. And so you get about 5 or so ounces of those.
Drop that in here.
No, actually,
Okay.
I've cut them all up. That was just to show people what we're using.
Oh, I've got, you've already coarsely chopped.
I did,
Got it.
yes. And then we have a 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Then we also have, I think it's 1 cup of sugar, maybe it's 3/4 cup. I don't have my recipe in front of me, but here's what I like to do at home. If you cook with vanilla beans, throw them in your sugar, and then you have delicious vanilla scented sugar. 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, boom, right there, super easy. And then all you
Torta's like Italian for like a flat cake. Or a
Yes.
cookie, right?
and actually, it's kind of ready. So while I'm mixing it, you
You want me
can
to pull it out?
show them
Oh,
kind of
look at that.
what that looks like.
Lovely.
We're gonna use our pastry blender to combine our dry ingredients pretty quickly. And then we're gonna add to that 14 tablespoons of softened
Okay.
butter. Just like with the other thing, if you can manage to use what's it called? European butter with this, I mean, goodness sake, go with it. It's so delicious. And if you buy it in bulk, it's not that expensive, but it is a luxury nonetheless. And I know we're all trying to save right now because things are so expensive. But while I'm cutting the butter into our dry ingredients, oh, there's also salt in this. I didn't put the salt. You can't forget your salt. You gotta salt your sweet stuff too. So I'm adding some salt. And if you want to talk about our finished product.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it out.
Our cacciatore.
So we've got our salad, we've got our wonderful torta with grapes. And now the finished,
On top of this.
okay. The finished cacciatore, and I just need. What's here?
Oh, there's 2, here's 1.
Okay, fine, this is good.
Okay. How's everybody doing?
Julie, how you doing?
Everybody's
Julie's gonna have
good?
an amazing dinner.
It does smell very nice in here right now, guys, I would like to say. So Phil's bringing over our finished cacciatore. So what he's gonna show you is our trade out,
And that's the finished
and that's our finished product. Now, both Phil and I would like to take a little extra time, and we're not gonna do it. But I would take that chicken out and reduce the sauce by about 50%. And we were talking about this before we got rolling, that's what he would probably do as well. What else would you do, Phil?
Well, pasta.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so we would definitely have pasta. So in Italian cooking, there's the primi piatti, which is the first course, and the secondi piatti, which is a protein. But in America, we typically mix our primi piatti and secondi piatti. So, but pasta would be, now, would you put the pasta in there or would you do it separately?
I would put the pasta on, so in America, we like to have sauce with our pasta.
We do,
In Italy, I would say that they eat pasta with sauce.
correct.
So I would actually have it on the side.
The sauce would be separate,
Right?
And there's all kinds of different pastas, but my family uses Di Cecco.
Best brand.
We've been using Di Cecco since I was a little kid. The Parpadella is I think goes really well. It's kind of like a very wide strip, and it cooks really, really fast, but it's amazing pasta.
That
So-
happens to be an egg noodle,
Mhm.
and I understand, although I don't speak Italian, that pappardelle means to gulp your pasta.
okay.
I heard,
Okay,
I don't know that. But gnocchi would be a great thing to have with this. You could even do what's it called? Polenta, I think would be
Mhm,
nice with
yeah.
this, a stiff polenta. So so this is just to finish up our cookie. If you, I'm just gonna grab this pie dish. So if you don't have a ring, then you can use a pie dish, you can use glass, you can use metal. And what you want to do with your cookie, pardon me, is to take about 50% of your mixture and just put it into your dish. There's enough butter in here, you're really not going to stick, but you could put a piece of parchment down if you wanted. I'm patting this mixture into the bottom of the pie dish. And I worked some vanilla in there too, about a tablespoon, no, sorry, a teaspoon or so of vanilla. And so I've kind of like free-formed, and then I'm going to take the rest of this, as you can see, I'm going to kind of grasp it so that I can make crumbs, which you could call streusel, and that just goes right on top. And you just kind of break it on top. And then you bake this at 350 degrees for, about 30 minutes, and then you reduce the oven temp to 300 and about 10 minutes more until you get what we have over here, which is this lovely baked communal cookie. And believe me when I say, when you have a grape and the cookie in the same
amazing.
bite, it's delicious.
let's try that, shall we?
Please do. Have it, yeah, please do.
That, and then
And
one
I
of
have-
these.
Go ahead, Phil. Let's see what we got here.
So when my family does this, it's delicious.
Well, that's good. Okay, so I'm sorry we went over by a few minutes, but here we have our lovely tricolor salad. And please feel free to add as many greens as you like. If you want less dressing on your salad, more dressing. And then we have our lovely chicken cacciatore, which you can again reduce that sauce down if you like. And then you have the escargot butter, which you can enjoy with a piece of bread if you like. And you can also, for that matter, melt it and just enjoy it with some warm bread dip into it. And then you have the torta sbrisolona,
We're gonna have to try that.
and that is, I think, one of my favorite
And then-
things. But these are all wonderful
Yeah.
things. And yeah, please.
And so we're gonna try the butter too.
And thanks for playing along with our first go at this. We're learning just like everybody else, and that's for darn sure. And as lifelong learners, isn't that a nice thing? So what is the next Wellness Wednesday subject, Phil?
Glad you should ask. So we have yoga coming up next month. Then we have a hike in the redwoods. I think
All the
in
way up there.
April. Yeah, so March is going to be yoga. Hike in the redwoods, not in the sequoias, but in Carbon Canyon. We have a hike, and then we have kickball coming up in May. What an exciting set of activities. But Jonathan, I had such a great time learning from you today, and it was really amazing. And plus now I get to eat some of this, and what a great night. Julie, thank you so much for letting us have your pick. Come on in here.
I promise we're gonna
Come
help.
on in here. You
We're
can come
gonna
on
help
in.
clean up, I promise.
This is Julie and her plate. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you so much, all the people that are watching, Brenda. This is an amazing meal. I hope you learned something tonight, and we just had so much fun. So we hope you have a great night, and take care.
Take care very much. Okay, well, I think that wasn't so bad.